Hello guys, Wahoo here, back with another video. This time around, I am making a build guide for the Vanguardian. So I'm making one for all of them, and this is gonna be the first one. I'm doing like a whole series. I did the Draco, so actually, I get technically that's the first one, but the Vanguardian is the next one. I'm just doing them all of them because I had a good success with that one, and I kind of wanted to do all of them. And some of them are very interesting, and some of them are not that much. But I want to start out with the Vanguardian and kind of talk about the playstyle that people usually do for the Vanguardian. So first of all, the Vanguardian is physical damage, and with all these videos, and I'll probably mention it all of them, so if you're watching all of them, yeah, just keep in mind that I will say this one or every time basically, is that all classes need 100% crit and as much critical damage as you can get. And with that out of the way, I can show you what I mean. So you can see I have 122% critical hit, which is way more than you need. You gotta reach as close to 100% as you can. Even making like 99.9% is better than having 122 points, because then you have to move some status around. So as close as to 100% you can get. Preferably, of course, over, because so all your hits are critical. If you're, for example, using the vampiric empowered gem, I don't have one right here, you will heal on that, and I'll mention this in other videos as well, I'm not sure, but as much critical damage as you can get. And of course you can get this from different things, but you can also be a part of a club. So even if you are a part of our club, for example, you have a fixture that is going to give you 10% crit and also 100% critical damage. It doesn't say it right here, but that's the bonuses that it is. And of course you want to get as much physical damage as you can get as well. The Vanguardian does have two stands, one that is melee and one that is ranged. And usually what people use is the ranged ability, because you have laser eyes on your mouse button second. I'm not sure what well, it's basically the one that is right here. Here is the plasma blast. You can also see it in here. But let me just really quickly jump back into melee attack. Sorry, that's what I mean. People use the melee attack and just use their laser eyes, and I see if I can use it, and that's usually just what people do. And with enough both you know, if you have 100% crit hit and you have 100%, or not 100%, sorry, a lot of critical damage, you are, and of course also some physical damage, you will one-shot bosses, and that's what usually people run around and do, and one-shot bosses, as people also do on the Lunar Lancer, for example, or the Near Ninja, but I'll explain them when I get to that. But it's basically the same thing people do. You want to get some energy regen in there as well. You don't want to get any really on your gear and such. You can get it if you want to. Some people also go for attack speed, but you really just want to go for a little bit of energy regen instead of attack speed. Depending on what you do. You can go the laser eyes method, but you can also just go straight up melee. Melee stance is the best because it's just more tanky. Also, when you hit your #1 ability, you do have like this circle around you. And another thing with this circle and an empowered gem you probably want to get your hands on is the pyro disc. So pyro disc basically does the same thing, or not really, because you have to activate it when you kill a monster, but it gives you movement speed, which is nice, but also gives you this circle, and when you are in melee, you basically just want to have this if you do the whole melee thing. You don't really need it if you're doing the laser eyes method, or whatever you're going to call it, the way of the laser eyes, the Superman eyes, we can also call them like that. Those you just need. There's not any specific empowered gem, or even for the cosmic. There's not any really you want to use, if that makes any sense. You just want to get as much power as you can so you can one-shot these things. And that's, again, why it's very important that you have as close to 100% or over 100% critical hit. So those one-shots or those eyes will always be a crit. So basically that is the whole way of the the Vanguardian. As you can see, I'm missing a few faces and hats. I do have a Crystal 3 fist, but I'm running still like only a 1 hat and a 2 face, basically. So of course, for your flask and emblems, you want to of course run with the physical damage emblem, as it is a physical damage character. And this is also something I will go over in every single video, even though that it's yeah, you know, it's pretty given. I use Death Defying. You could use many others depending on your preference, of course. But when you get to you know, to the second emblem, here you can basically use a few that you really want to. You can use the energetic if you really want to get that boost to your energy regen if you don't have it. But I would go with maybe the trailblazing. The trailblazing is really nice to get that extra jumps and boost if you really want to move really fast. You can also go with the unwielding, because that gives you that shield every time you use it, and you can basically pop a potion and then use your eyes and then one shot the boss. And you know, you can also, if that also increases your you know, magic find, if you have enough of that, you can run with a flask that gives you charges back. As you can see, I'm using the beamer emblem, but you can also use other method as well. But if you don't have 100% crit, if you're running below 80%, you should run with the Sure Strike emblem. And why is 80% really important? Well, because after 80%, you're not getting the benefit out of the 20% critical hit. So if you're running exactly 80, it's still good, but when you get to 81%, for example, you're only getting 90% out of it, and the closer and closer you get to 100%, the worse and worse this gets. So you really want to maybe look into what's it called, some of the other emblems that I just talked about, because yeah, you don't want to use it after 80%, and it's not that hard to get 80%, but it can be something. At least maybe some of my other classes do not have 100%, so they're still running it. But you just want to run something else. The main part is really to just have the physical damage emblem, as you can buy in the store, as I've talked about before. Of course, for you know, an ally, you wanna go with the Rap Berserker. Basically any of the allies that give you 20%, 20% critical damage. Unless you're missing like critical hit or critical damage, you can go with something else. But I would rather go with the physical damage one. You can also go with that's not allies. If we go down below, there is also one, for example, right here that gives you 25% critical damage. But I would again say the 20% physical damage is a lot better. Also the boost and also the heals from this one is a lot better. But again, you can use any of the allies that has a 20% critical damage buff. Basically, that's at least what I would go for. In some, like I said, some niche stuff, you could basically go with some of the others. So I can also really quickly say that I also have the Vanguardian's Empowered Gem, and it's really good to start out with before you get enough to one-shot bosses in wherever you are. Because it does give you every time you, for example, you hit, you can see I do like the uppercut thing you see I do. That is basically gonna reduce the cooldown of all your abilities, not your ultimate, but your other abilities, which is really nice. So you can basically have the force flash up all the time, basically, or more or less all the time. So it's really nice to have as you start out, as a really nice, you know, that. But when you get to one-shotting things with your laser eyes, you really don't want to use this. But if you have it, as I have it, 25 out of 25, and also it has the right stat, you just want to keep it around, because then you have it. You don't have to change it out for anything like that, because like I said before, laser eyes does not change. This just needs as much damage as you can get, basically. That's the whole point of the laser eyes. But if you are going melee, if you were going the melee build with the Pyro Disc, you probably also want to get this one as well. It's not 100% necessary. Like I didn't really mention it because it's not super. It's like a medium thing in how much you need it. But depending on which way you are going, basically, with your character. So I think that was it for what I wanted to say about the the Vanguardian. So just get as much closest to 100% crit hit, and of course as much critical damage, so those crits just becomes massive. And of course don't neglect your physical damage for your character. And of course you also either want the power disc if you're going the melee build and not the laser eyes. So happy one-shotting out there, and thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this, make sure you like and subscribe. And if I missed anything, or if there were anything you felt that I didn't cover in this Vanguardian build, make sure you go down below and put it in the comments, and also check out the description, because if you go down there and put a comment, people can see if I missed something, and they can get help basically also from you guys. So anyways, I have blabbered on enough. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!